Welcome back to the It's Just Sport podcast paper review. I'm Joanna Reardon.
I'm Neve Talon. There has been loads of news this week, and while we will get to the ruckus that is going on in the world of Camogie, we are going to bring you the good news first. We have 2 new Olympic qualifications from diving athletics, so it has been a brilliant week of sport, and we are excited to bring you the news.
Yeah, it's incredibly overwhelming. In the early hours of Tuesday morning, Tanya Watson qualified for the Olympic Games, becoming the first ever Irish female diver to qualify for the Olympics. She finished 16th in the preliminary round for the 10-metre platform in the FINA Diving World Cup, and she now advances to the semi-final. Kira McGing was also competing in the same event, finishing 23rd. She will have to wait for 2 more weeks while FINA determine if that finish will qualify her for the Games. Claire Crine was also competing. She was in the 3-metre springboard on Monday, achieving her 4th highest score ever with 242.9 points. She unfortunately finished in 31st position and did not advance to the semi-final. She was incredibly disappointed in not qualifying for the Tokyo Olympics, but she will now turn her focus to the European Championships beginning on the 10th of May. I know we're all incredibly disappointed for Claire, especially Niamh, but it's good news all around, but sad for Claire.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see that Tanya has qualified, but I know that Claire is incredibly disappointed, and I think it was just one dive kind of threw it a little bit. But we're looking forward to seeing her in action again at the European Championships, which will be starting on Monday. And I'm sure she'll have a great competition. But she's a fantastic diver, fantastic athlete, so it was just disappointing for her that she didn't achieve what she wanted to achieve. In athletics, there was lots and lots of excitement at the World Relays. I think loads of people tuned in. It was great to see it. It was great to see that people are tuning into what's going on in other sports and tuning into the successes of our female athletes. First up was the 4x100 with Molly Scott, Sarah Lavin, Sarah Quinn and Kate Doherty. They put in a good race but did not advance to the semi-finals. It's great to get everybody out there get experience on the international stage, so it's very exciting. The big news of Saturday night was the mixed 4x400 relay, which had Chris O'Donnell, Phil Healy, Charlene Maudsley and Tommy Barr in action. O'Donnell started off strong, but it was very tight. The only one that was really making a move at that point was a British runner who'd moved ahead, but everybody else crossed the line and did the handover in quick succession. Phil put in a massive first 100 and put them in the lead. She held that until the final straight, and she was overtaken by a Brazilian. She then did the handover to Charlene. So Charlene, led off in second position. She was overtaken for a brief period of time, but really, really held on. So she was sitting in third just for a little bit, but it was really exciting. Everybody was really, really tight. And as it came into the final straight, she actually managed to move Ireland up into first position. So it was just so exciting. And she really, really dug in. You could see she was giving it 100%. She passed this over then to Thomas Barr. He ran the last leg. And he was in first position for a good while, but then was just slightly outdone by the Brazilian and the Dominican Republic. He was put in a great position by his team, and we certainly will be looking forward to the excitement of this team as we look forward to the Olympic Games now that the team is qualified. I know Phil was saying it's delighted to, we're expecting that she's going to go forward and based on rankings and everything anyway, but she's delighted that the team is qualified and that there's a secure Olympic qualification there. What I thought was really interesting was Phil actually ran 51.87 and Charlene ran 51.86. So Charlene was actually just a teeny bit quicker than Phil. And I thought the women stood out on the team. They did really, really well. They were just exceptional. Definitely in comparison to the other female athletes, they were 100% up there. For the final, Tom Barr actually went home and Andrew Mellon was swapped in. Their job was done. They had that Olympic qualification and they finished in 7th place overall in the final on Sunday. And I think that'll be down to getting more people races, getting the experience. They had their job done. They got that qualifying spot. Then on the Sunday, the 4x200 was also very exciting. It saw Ireland pick up second place with absolute delight. The team ran a new national record of 135.93. It is a young team with loads and loads of potential. They started off really, really strong. It was a good leg from Aoife Lynch. She took them out in the lead. The lead out leg. Then Kate Doherty took the baton from her, and around the next 200, she really moved them up and got them into second position. It was retained by the following athletes, who were Sarah Quinn, who actually ran the fastest leg of the quartet, and Sophie Becker, who was beginning to gain on the poles. And the two of them put in some good work and began to gain on the poles, but it just wasn't enough to get first. But brilliant second position race, and they have picked up some prize money along the way. I think the clean changeovers in both teams really had them stand out. It was very exciting watching everything, like all the other events. There's some relay races that we won't get to see elsewhere. So there's a shuttle relay in hurdles, and these distances like the 4x200 wouldn't crop up often, but was definitely exciting. There are people dropping things, there are people stepping out of lanes, all that kind of thing. So there's plenty of disqualifications, but very, very exciting. In other news, Rashida Adeleke was in action. She was in the States running the 200 meters, and she ran 23 flat. This was 0.1 off Phil Healy's Irish record. However, it was wind assisted at 2.7. We know she's in absolutely flying form. There's loads more to come from her, so we look forward to seeing what she's doing over the next couple of months, because she's just knocking on the doors of some more of those records.
Yeah, no, I think every single argument should be settled with shuttle hurdle relays or relays in any shape or form, because they are some of the craziest athletics events you can possibly, even in swimming. I had noticed when I was there, the relays were are the most, that will be the most fun. I was looking forward to that, and they were like, "There's no relays to it," and I was like, "Oh." But yeah, I suppose looking across to Katie Taylor, she remains the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. I really wanted to go full boxer announcer there, but I thought, don't embarrass yourself. She is now her record stands at 18 professional wins and 0 losses, which is absolutely unbelievable for her. She beat Liverpool's Natasha Jonas in a cracking fight. People were already tipping it to be a contender for Fight of the Year. It was absolutely unbelievable. I watched some of it on the highlights. It was incredible. It was so close. Taylor obviously started off better, but Jonas managed to actually work her way back into the fight in the kind of middle rounds. I think from watching boxing, and my boxing knowledge is a bit limited, but from what I could read online, Jonas is kind of a bit more technical. She's a bit more out there. She's a bit more, I suppose, capable, I think, in the boxing world, which is, it's not wrong to say, but I think she's been focused on this for quite some time. Taylor really showed, obviously, why she is, a champion. She showed real guts. She showed incredible courage to dig deep and pull through in some of those final rounds when the going really got tough and it was incredibly tight and nail biting. I suppose credit to the two of them, both Natasha and Katie Taylor, for making it one of the fights of the year. For sure, it was a great spectacle. Loads of people got involved, and I think afterwards Katie Taylor said something, that she dug deep in the end and won the championship rounds. We said all week that it could have been a headline act, and the fight showed why. I think a lot of people were a little bit curious as to why it wasn't the headline fight, because it was such a high profile thing, and then a couple of other people who who are familiar with boxing and who aren't as familiar with boxing were a little bit unsure as to why it was on box office, considering women's boxing is kind of growing, and you mightn't really necessarily want to be putting those fights behind the scene. Especially last year for Kate Taylor's, one of her other fights, it was on, I think it was on Sky Sports Mix or something like that, so even the free channel, and it had record viewing numbers for a women's boxing event. I don't know if you saw some of the top dogs and boxing magazines were even writing about how great Kate Taylor was, so it's great to see her absolutely flying. My brother still thinks she doesn't get the recognition that she deserves.
She I think, to be honest, I think part of it is she has such a massive following and people have such admiration and respect for her, but part of her kind of personality is she doesn't necessarily love the limelight. Obviously she does a bit of it more now with the fact that she's professional and she has to get out and talk to media a bit more maybe than she necessarily enjoys. But yeah, if obviously she is marketed, but if she put more time into that, she definitely have more of a following. But I think the nature of her is she likes to be a little bit behind the scenes, and the talent speaks to it for itself, and I think people also like a bit of mystery as well.
I think it's part of the appeal, her quietness and her soundness. I met her at the People of the Year Awards. She won Athlete of the Year for obviously bringing home gold in the Olympics, and I was Young Person of the Year, so we had to sit next to each other and split an award. And she's just so quiet, she's just so nice. There was no other words to and that night, it was in the City West Hotel that night. I'm not joking, Unive. There was 50 girls outside the hotel waiting for her to sign autographs that night.
Yeah,
it was incredible to see.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. She's just such a good athlete, and I think look, if she wants to focus like she focuses on her boxing, she obviously does what she does. She's pushed the boundaries so far for women's boxing, so obviously she has achieved some goals there. And I think she can kind of afford to do what she wants to do, because she is the best. There is everything that comes with it, like her talent absolutely speaks for itself. Where sometimes people need to work a little bit harder at building their profile, where it kind of looks after itself a little bit. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I think she could be bigger and bolder, in terms of like recognition and that kind of marketing side. But if she doesn't want to do it, that's fine. She's doing fine, in terms of the financial setup that she has, and she's just doing what she wants to do, which is brilliant. But in soccer, there's a lot going on. The World Cup draw happened last week. So for the 2023 World Cup, Ireland have been drawn against Sweden, Finland, Slovakia, and Georgia. It's definitely going to be a tough group with both Sweden and Finland up there with some of the best teams in Europe. Both of them will play in the Euros next year. The winners of the group will qualify automatically, but the runners up will go into a playoff system. So realistically, Ireland will be aiming for one of those spots. It's certainly not out of the question, and we are looking forward to seeing what happens over the next while, because Vera Pauw and her side have definitely been progressing. In some Vera Pauw news, there has been a story come out recently with herself and Tyler Toland, and they seem to have come to a head. Basically, Toland was seen as one of Ireland's biggest prospects. She's contracted to Manchester City and was the youngest player to get a senior international cap. She found herself sitting on the bench for a while after Paul took charge, and Paul recently revealed that she was since harassed and intimidated by Toland's father, and claims that Toland said that she would never play under her management again. So Paul's not ruling out a return for Toland, but said she'll only consider it if Toland picks up the phone to call her and apologise and speak about it, and really act like an adult in this situation, and have a conversation between themselves. On the other side, Toland's father refutes the allegations and has called on the FAI to intervene. He said that what Paul has said is incorrect. So it'll be a story, I think, that people will be watching over the coming weeks to see how it unfolds. But I don't know. It's hard to know what the truth of it is, and we'll definitely find that out as it continues, and people investigate it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a crazy one, and I don't envy anyone in that scenario, and I especially don't envy the FAI, because if you got proud parent, proud manager, I've been at a couple of under 12s games. Let me tell you, parents, they don't back down. Neither do coaches either.
Absolutely.
But in better news for Katie McCabe, she has signed a new contract with Arsenal. She has made 113 appearances so far. She's obviously having a brilliant season as well with Arsenal, with 4 goals, 12 assists in 24 games. And I think the thing that surprised me the most is that she is still just 25. Like, it's absolutely mind-blowing to see how far she's come with her career. I don't know if you saw Rusha's Little John's tweet to her, where she basically said, like, congrats, Katie, I'll be the one in the relationship to keep you down. BTW, you have to sign another contract for our relationship. See if you can do the double. It was, like, really amusing. It's, like, good banter between the two of them, which is obviously good to see. They actually had a really good piece in the 42 for Pride Week as well, if anyone is interested in looking at that. But yeah, Katie McCabe back at Arsenal, back where she belongs, and fingers crossed maybe next season Arsenal might get their medical team in shape and we might get to see Arsenal back on top again. She's already won a title as well with Louise Quinn, which is important to note. And best of luck to her, fingers crossed, and we look forward to seeing her at the next coming internationals as well. In other news, in horse racing news, we have Rachel Blackmore. She won the championship hurdle aboard Honeysuckle at the Punchestown races. The duo are officially now, I think we can all say, a formidable duo, with Blackmore partnering Honeysuckle for 11 out of her 12 consecutive wins. They are already the odds-on favourite to defend their champion hurdle crown at Cheltenham next year, which is incredible to see. And we're also working to get Rachel Blackmore on the pod. She told us May, so we will be definitely working towards that, because it'll be a fun interview, no doubt. But we mentioned Camogie earlier, and obviously we're going to go back to it because her sport were the first to break the news. Niamh, tell us everything you know and give us the tea. Spill it.
Yeah, so obviously people have kind of seen a little bit about what's been going on in Camogie. I think for people outside of the Camogie community, they haven't fully got to grips on what exactly is going on. So basically on Thursday there was a meeting about what the fixtures were going to be. Everybody else seems to be going with Inter-County League, followed by the Inter-County Championship, and then people returning to their clubs and playing the club championship after that. The Camogie Association want to do it differently. They want to go with the Inter-County League. They want people to go back to their clubs, play the club championship, and then to do the Inter-County Championship afterwards. So on Friday, an emergency meeting was called after the Camogie Association had said this. All senior counties except one opposed to the setup of what the Camogie Association were proposing, and also 82% of players voted for the split season. But it seemed to have fallen on deaf ears. They knew this before they had made their decision, and I think the players are really disappointed, particularly when it came out after the emergency meeting. So even after the emergency meeting, I think people had expected that it would probably go the way that the players wanted it to, because 82% is a huge percentage. So basically, since it was confirmed, it's been criticised all over social media. I don't think anybody that we have seen and we've been looking at a lot has been in support of it. Since then, the Camogie Association have come out and said that they will poll the clubs and the members to understand what the optimum fixtures of the calendar would look like. So there's a lot of different things going on. Like, I think, some of the arguments are that the Camogie Association are saying they want as many people to play games as possible this summer. They're saying where like the players are saying that's not really going to happen that way. I think there's risk of the minor championship being cancelled. It was cancelled last year, which is really disappointing. We've seen tweets where people have said like, but would this happen with the men's? And then, if it was a men's minor championship that was cancelled, and people were saying, no, the conversation wouldn't even be entertained. So why is it happening on the women's side? Like, to make sure that the, junior athletes in the last, year or two of their, minor careers are afforded the opportunity to play these games. People have criticised, saying that, for keeping people involved in the sport and, inspiring people to play, into their adult years, that it's not really encouraging people. And then obviously there's been the conversation about should it not be one organisation all over again. So some of the typical conversations that come out when something goes wrong in we call it the Gaelic Games world. But what have you seen and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's absolutely wild. To be honest, I was blown away. Like, I think first of all, when you hear, okay, the county boards opposed it, maybe one, okay, why are you going against them? And then you hear 82% of the players voted for it. No, and I think for me, Niamh, one of the big things was when the GPA slash WGPA, because they're all one now, released their statement saying that the players actually said they would boycott the league if this season was going to take place like this. That was mind blowing. I did not think anyone would like postpone or abandon anything, and I don't know why. I was just like, oh look, it's going to go ahead. It's the same stuff. And I think what was disappointing was that the Camogie Association had one of the most positive and forward-thinking congresses this year, where they specifically voted that they would protect the dual player. They voted that they would protect players and that they would listen to players and different things like that. Hilda Breslin, the new president, I'm not going to judge her based on this, because I think she has some incredibly forward-thinking ideas, and I think she is a very...
It's not just one person either. Do you know what I mean? There's a few people in there making decisions.
Exactly, but it was very unfortunate that an article or an interview she had done, I can't remember with who, where she basically said that this year was all about kind of listening to the players, and this was basically it. And it kind of just came at a really awkward time, because it was like, oh, you clearly did not listen to the players. And as I said, it's not her specifically, it is other people involved. But I think it just really does beg the question as to who is obviously making these decisions. I did find it funny that ladies football slid in their master plan underneath all the controversy. They were like, yeah, we're going ahead with the normal way. Yeah. I was laughing at that as well a little bit. They were like, oh, just let all the heat on Camogie first.
It's going to be complicated for players. And I think from in a COVID world, we're also, everyone's trying to figure things out at the moment anyway. And at the moment, the inter-county players are actually train and actually play. So what people were saying was that if they participate in the league, which has already been set, and then they take a little bit of time off, so whether it's 2 weeks or whatever it might be, and then go straight into the Intercounty Championship, they are already match fit, they will be ready to go, and that's what they all want to do. And then it actually keeps intercounty and club totally separate. So there'll be no mixing, like all that kind of thing. They just like do their competitions, and then they can return to their clubs, and everybody should be safe. Then the other side of it is like so the way the Camogie Association, obviously we're talking about it, intercounty back to club and then back to intercounty. So there's that kind of mixing piece, which, obviously I'm assuming people would be either isolating or whatever it might be, tested before they kind of return to play in their clubs. That's what you would hope would be doing. But also then in the club, it gives them like a limited amount of like time. I think it was like an 11-week window or something like that, but it's a short window to get all the club, games, having them happen. People were saying, like, until this Monday the 10th, like Gaelic Games won't return to actually train together. So they're not ready. They're not match fit.
Yep.
They're saying then they have to organise like friendlies and challenge matches and all that kind of thing before
and
they
you're not allowed
straight into the championship.
You're not allowed to have friendlies.
So they're saying like they don't want to jump straight into the championship, like, because sometimes like people are just getting like they're going to get knocked out, so they want that kind of time to get everything sorted. And then kind of towards the end of the club championship, people are going to have to make the choice between playing for club or playing for county. And then a lot of clubs are going to be missing their top players because their county setup is going to be calling them up and all that type of thing. And I think what players had said last year was they actually enjoyed playing for their club. Like a lot of players and the people we've spoken to have said they love playing with their club. They're the people they grew up with, the people they've played with for years. And then now they're going to have to make a choice again in like what the decision is. And to be honest, like sometimes people are going to choose the club over county, even though county might be perceived as an honour to play for your county. I think some people will play club instead of playing county, because I think they really enjoy it, and depending on what the setup is. But it's hopefully the Camogie Association over the next couple of days do make the right decision. There was one other rumour, I don't know the full truth behind it, but there's a rumour that there might not be a sponsor for the All-Ireland Championship yet. So I don't know how much truth there is to that, and that they might be just biding their time with the Camogie Association.
I was going to say,
putting it down the line.
Did that play a factor then in putting clubs right bang in the middle? You've got more time. But I think as well, like the other thing as well, a lot of people, like where were they going to find the pitches for these? Like where, like there was a lot of other hurdles that they would have had to have jumped, and surely they factored that into their decision. One of the girls, she's a Kerry Camogie player, she was minor last year, she was basically saying, it's not exactly like, going back to the minor stuff, it's not exactly we don't have the players. She was like, even in a smaller county like Kerry, like it's only like one or two minor players that would have been affected, if the minor, thing had to kind of go ahead. But no, I think honestly, as you know, I'm a big fan in organizations taking their L, taking their loss, reflecting on it, sitting back on it, and just accepting we got it wrong.
Change,
there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's nothing wrong with just coming out and admitting you got it wrong. You didn't listen to the players. You didn't listen to what people wanted. You went ahead. You forged, and as well, like the template was there. The GA were doing it this way.
Yeah, everybody else is doing it that way.
It's not like you're single-handedly designed. Sorry, my dog has decided to start walking everywhere. You're not single-handedly designing a brand new championship to suit COVID. Everyone is doing it for you. Like just follow the lead. You don't have to go so crazy and create your own.
I think what people like find disappointing, like the players, they're like, well, why did you ask us what we thought if you weren't going to listen to us? And like, it's not as if it was like 45-55% breakdown. It like 82% is a resounding answer. So I don't know, we'll keep people updated anyway in relation to what's going on. We might even get to chat to some of the players and see what they thought. But from what we saw on social media, like once it was confirmed, like people kind of didn't really say anything when we released it initially, because they were waiting, I think, until like in hope during the emergency meeting, hoping that the Camogie Association were just going to change. And then after that, it like everything started to blow up online. People were they're just not happy. So and again, it makes sense. Like if you're going to ask people what they think, why wouldn't you listen to it? So anyway, that's what we have today. We'll keep you posted on everything else that's going on. Definitely have a look out for Tanya Watson in the World Cup, and there'll be some more athletics. And yeah, like lots more games over the next while. So definitely keep up to date. If you want to connect with us on social media, you can follow Her Sport on both Twitter and Instagram at hersport.ie. And Joanna's going to give you her social media channels.
I am at JoannaWar_OX on Twitter and at JoannaWar on Instagram. Definitely follow us. We will try to keep you all up to date with the news that's happening in terms of camogie, diving, and everything else in between. So make sure to hit us up and let us know if you have any questions or anything you want us to address. So thanks very much, Niamh. It's been a pleasure. My dog literally is acting like a hostage. She can leave. But yeah, no, appreciate it, Niamh.
Talk to you later.
See you soon. Cheerio.